Hi, my name is Charisma Kokroko. I'm very excited to meet you once again. This is my YouTube channel. If you've not subscribed yet, I want to urge you to subscribe. Okay, like I spoke in my previous introductory video, I am here to deliver something very powerful, something that is going to make a tremendous difference in your life, something that is going to give a new direction, a new meaning to your life. So today I really want to talk about something important. I believe that you have come to a point in life where you feel that your life is going in a certain way that you do not understand. Sometimes your life is going on a direction you did not bargain for, or you feel that the things that you are doing are not yielding the result that you desire. I'm going to tell you what it is, okay? I'm going to tell you what it is that you may not know about. Sometimes we come to a certain crossroad. I even heard a story some time back, and then I heard about a certain guy who was so much indulging in immorality. Okay, he has been indulging in so much immorality, and then sexual immorality, and then he didn't know what was causing that. So he wanted to curtail it, but it was not working. Then he confronted his pastor and then told the pastor about it. After telling the pastor about that thing, I think this story was actually told by the pastor, and then according to the pastor, the guy told him that he wants to be castrated. I never knew that human beings can also castrate, but he said he wanted to be castrated because he feels that the only way he can do away with immorality and be free from such is to castrate. But there are a whole lot of things that are causing the effects that we see in our lives. There are things that are bringing the results, whether desired or undesired, in our lives. And I'm going to talk about this. Sometimes we take decisions, sometimes we act in a certain way, and we do not know why we act the way we do. Tim LaHaye wrote a book, Why You Act the Way You Do, and it centers on personality. But I'm not going to talk about personality per se here, but I'm going to go on a different tangent. So today I want to talk to you about what we call an outlook on life, okay? Outlook on life, or basically it is called perspective, all right? Perspective. So what is perspective? Perspective is basically the way you see things. Basically, the way you see things. Perspective is your outlook on life. Perspective is your point of view, okay, concerning life, concerning education, concerning marriage, concerning everything. Your point of view. That is what we call perspective. So if I present a situation, okay, or an issue to you now, if I present a situation to you right now, whatever you think about it is the greatest revelation or the reflection of how your mind works. It is the greatest reflection of how you see things. So when maybe my daughter, okay, when my daughter gets pregnant out of wedlock, and my daughter comes to tell me, or maybe my daughter gets pregnant and you are my daughter's friend, and my daughter comes to you as a friend and tells you, look, I have gotten pregnant out of wedlock and my father is very strict, I don't know what to do. And she goes ahead to go and tell another person also the same thing, okay? You realize that your advice to my daughter might be a bit different from the other one's advice. Why is that? Perspective. And everybody's advice is based on where the person is standing, the experiences the person has had, the person's way of thinking or reasoning. That is what gives birth to such advice, okay? So now, here is the deal. When you look at the decisions that you make in your life, they are as a result of your perspective about things. If your perspective about things are wrong, ultimately your decisions cannot be any different. Your decisions are right to the extent to which your perspective about the thing is right. Should I say that again? Your decisions are right to the extent to which your perspective about certain things are right. I don't know if you get it right. your decisions will follow your perspective. Your decision cannot take a different direction from your perspective. They come together. If you have wrong perspective about things, your decisions would ultimately be wrong. Your actions would ultimately be wrong. Your interest will ultimately be wrong. That's the truth. So if, as a human being, for instance, you have this desire to become an astronaut. Let me use that as an example. You have this desire to become an astronaut. Whatever you are going to do in life, okay, anything that you're going to do, the decisions you are going to take, the investment you are going to make, and every other thing you are going to do must center around that. If you want to be an astronaut, but you find yourself hanging up unnecessarily with friends who are not going your direction, you need to know that there is something wrong with your perspective. If you have that as a dream and it has consumed you enough, then that same dream that has consumed you will now carve a path for you. It will begin to reshuffle your interests, reshuffle your decisions, reshuffle your associations, reshuffle your books that you read, reshuffle the time that you spend on things. It will try to dictate to you how you must live your life. It will dictate to you the kind of books you should read. So basically, your subsequent decisions and actions in life are going to be determined by your perspective. Have you made some wrong decisions in the past? You took that decisions because you saw things in a wrong light. You didn't see things the way they should be seen. You didn't see things in their right perspective. You didn't see things in their relative importance. But you saw things the way you thought they should be, or the way your parents thought they should be. A typical example here is education, okay? Education. Most of us are very much frustrated because we are educated, alright? But nothing good is coming out of the education. Ask yourself, when you wanted to go to school, what made you take that decision? Number one. Number two, what made you decide on the course you wanted to read? Number three, when you got to school there, what made you associate with the kind of friends you associated yourself with? Number four, what made you leave the main reason or set aside, sideline or sidetrack the main reason for which you went to school and refocus your attention on other mundane things that had no positive bearing on your destiny? Think about it. Why did you decide to go to school in the first place? Was it because your parents says you should go? Number one. Number two, why did you decide to read that course? Was it because your parents forced you to become a medical doctor when you wanted to be a pilot? Was it because your parents forced you to be an engineer? Or probably you had friends, okay, who are doctors, or you have heard so much about doctorate, and then you feel that that profession has a certain prestige and you want that prestige. That is what we call the pride of life. You are not driven by the right motive. Your perspective regarding that education had been wrong. So no matter what you do, as long as you have laid a faulty foundation, it is going to affect you in the long run. Foundation is everything. When you don't get your reasons for which you do things right, every other thing that you do subsequently are going to be affected. You may not understand this. Before I go deeper into that, let me tell you this. There are factors that influences one's perspective of life. Okay, let me tell you the factors that influence your perspective of life. Number one, factor number one that influences your perspective about life is values. Values. They influence your perspective about life. For instance, do you know that as an individual, as I'm here, if I believe that my life revolves around an iPhone, or when I have an iPhone 12, it adds something great to my life, it gives me a certain sense of importance, okay, it confers a certain sense of self-importance to me, I can even kill to get that iPhone. I can kill to get it. I can compromise more important values like chastity, purity, respect, honor, gratitude, and a whole lot of values, discipline, self-discipline, temperance, patience. These are serious, more solemn values that we need to give attention to. There are things that we need to strive to maintain and protect. But when you believe wrongly and you believe that to also be part of this world, to also have your life going in a certain direction, to also have a sense of self-worth or self-respect, to also have a certain pedigree, you need an iPhone 12. Because if you don't have that, you are not going to be regarded among the enlightened of our world or the civilized of our world. You will sacrifice the most important virtues of life just to get that. And this is where the world has gotten it wrong. We think mundane things define us more than more important things. That is what we think. Everybody thinks that. So somebody has a phone, a $400, is it even $400, $100 phone, which can do something very important. But the person doesn't, although the person does not need the iPhone, he needs it so that to him, life is iPhone. To him, self-respect, self-importance is iPhone. So if I don't have an iPhone 12, I don't mean anything. I am nothing. And in fact, people will not like me if I don't have an iPhone 12. I cannot fit in if I do not have iPhone 12. So such a person will now sacrifice his pride, sacrifice his chastity, sacrifice virginity. Sacrifice a whole lot of important values just to get an iPhone. Values. What are your values? If you do not get your values right, if you don't get your values right, the things that matter most in life, the things that are most important in life, if you do not get them right, I'm telling you that your life will go the wrong way. Number two, experiences. Do you know why you do not want to marry? Do you know why you have such perspective about marriage? Because you experienced turbulence in your parents' marriage. Okay? There's been, or even if not your parents, perhaps there's been a whole lot of faulty marriages around you. Or you have friends whose marriages are faulty. Such experiences impact our lives. Sometimes we do not even realize it. When you ask somebody why the person thinks she does not want to get married, sometimes they do not have any tangible reason to give. Other than that, they talk about how marriage has caused a lot of problems to families. They talk about how marriages have caused a lot of problems to individuals. They talk about how people quarrel in their marriages and all that. Most of those things are seriously unfounded. I'm telling you, they are unfounded. They are myths. The moment you begin to have certain experiences in your life, or you are exposed to certain experiences in your life, you'd realize that they impact your life later on. Even if it doesn't impact your life in the now, it would affect you later on. Later on, when you want to make a decision, you are going to consider all these things, and now it has created a certain thinking pattern in your mind. And we become what we are thinking. Our lives are the expression of our thoughts. Our thoughts patterns, are reflected in our lives. So the moment these things form a certain kind of thinking pattern, or what we call a mindset, your life is basically going to revolve around these things. So most people can in themselves, if they begin to expose themselves to the right perspective, things in their right perspective, they could have had really good marriages. But because they have exposed themselves so much to negativity that they have seen in other people's marriages, they also conclude that marriage is not good. Those of you who think marriage is not good, is it a personal experience? I don't doubt that people have had personal experiences. But understand that your experience is not my experience. My experience is not your experience. And our experiences are not the experience. There are people who are also enjoying marriage. How about asking or reading about how they did it? Buy into that perspective. Do you see? So experiences can affect. There are people who rose up, okay? People like Joyce Meyer. I read about Joyce Meyer. She spoke about how she was traumatized because as a child she was sexually abused. Do you see that? And it affected her. It impacted the way she saw the world. It impacted the way she saw men. Most of us are like that. Your heart has been broken by one man, so you conclude that all men are evil. Your heart has been broken by one woman, so you conclude that all women are Atalias. They are Jezebels. They are Jaels. They are all women are. It is not true. Okay? It is not true. Your experience is different from their experience because there is a right perspective that you must imbibe in. And if you imbibe in that perspective, I believe that things will turn around. Alright? And the third thing that influences perspective, third factor that influences perspective is exposure. I could have spoken about something else like position, but I want to talk about exposure instead. These things are inexhaustible, okay? I am just giving 3 things that I have come up with, okay? I'm not saying that is all there is. So I want to talk about exposure. You know, when you are exposed to a certain kind of friends, all right, they affect the way you think. And when they affect the way you think, they affect the way you live. When they affect the way you live, they affect your future. It's true. Exposure. When you are not mindful of the things you expose yourself to, these things that you expose yourself to will be having impact on your life, silent impact. They would have unspoken, almost intangible influence on your life. And because the influences are intangible, you find that your life is taking a certain turn, but sometimes you wouldn't realize very early that it is because of this association. That is why usually we are advised against ungodly fraternity. Ungodly fraternity. Okay? When you find yourself, some people never knew they could smoke. They never knew they could do certain things until they found themselves fellowshipping more often, associating with certain people that they should not associate themselves with. That is how life is. So your exposure matters. Your perspective is affected by exposure. If you tend to expose yourself to a whole lot of mundane things on Facebook, a whole lot of mundane things on other social media websites and all that, more than the things you should really expose yourself to, your life is going to be affected. I have seen people who do not have values, and so what they do in their lives is this. Such people, they can go to social media, for instance Facebook. They see certain things that are written, well written, that can change their lives. They will never read it. You see, people are actually wired. They are configured, intrinsically configured to ignore things that should impact their lives positively. It's true. You see, it is like someone, traditionally say somebody is doing you. Because the very things that should impact your life positively, you see it and you scroll past it. You see people, the important things that can make a tremendous difference in their lives, they scroll past it. They don't give attention to it. You see them, look at a very powerful status, WhatsApp status somebody has posted. That thing, give attention. It is a very wise key, very important key that can make a certain difference even in your career, in your education, in your relationship. But because it is a lot, you will not read. Meanwhile, you go and see some jokes that will not affect you in any positive light. and you give your attention to that. People do certain videos, like 20 minutes videos and all that, like this video that you are watching right now. You would not watch. You would want to go and then watch jokes, watch people fooling about. That is what you want. It reveals that, you see, your exposure is a problem. You have exposed yourself to certain things that they have capped the certain values. So the things that should be valued are sidelined, and the things that you shouldn't major on are the things you are majoring on. These are the things the problems we face in life. These are the problems we face in life. Having said this, let me make this point. Have you realized that when we go to school, for instance, when we go to school, for instance, there are people who from the outset give their attention to their books. They give attention to study. They try to find out how best what they are studying can affect their lives. How best they can practicalize what they are acquiring, the knowledge that they are acquiring. They are looking for ways to put them into practice. That is why most of you who have studied science, you can realize that you are all science students, but there are people who go a long way to practicalize what they are studying. For instance, if you are a chemistry student and you have studied electrochemical cell, please, what did you do with that knowledge? What did you do with it? No, but there are people who are making batteries. People who you sat in the same class with are making batteries. What did you do with it? So you see, when you go to school, you realize that right from the outset, people give attention to what matters. They don't entertain a whole lot of mundane things. They don't give attention to friends that will pull them out of the path. They know why they are there, and they give their attention to it. They focus on the things that is so important to them, the things that they should give their attention to, and they don't focus on mundane things. But there are other people, they go to school and they think they are even there to look for marriage partners. It can happen in the long run, but that cannot be the focus. They go there and all of a sudden they forget the reason they have gone there. So these people fall in the category we call last minute learners. You see, don't follow any kind of stupid things, association that people have come up with. Don't. People form all sort of useless, like people form stingy men's association, people form stingy women's association, people form swagger women association, people form swagger men association, people form disciplined. It's not an association you must join. If you have your values and you see things right, you see things in their relative importance, the way you should see them, I'm telling you, you can't make mistakes. There is nothing like last minute learners. The last minute learners are those who finish and hold their certificates looking for jobs. And if they don't find jobs, they pick their mobile phones and they begin to insult the government. They begin to insult men of authority, and they begin to write all manner of rubbish on social media. These people, they don't work. They are waiting for the government to employ them, but they have an iPhone that is costing 7,000 Ghana cedis. It is costing a lot of US dollars. Why is that? People have $400 phone. People use $400 phone. People use $100 phone, $200 phone, and they are using that phone to make money. You have $700,000, $2,000 phone, and you are using it to insult. After you finish insulting, you go for your certificate that you are looking for jobs. Today, people are using their phones to make money on Amazon, make money on a whole lot of websites. Do you see it is all about thinking? Do you see? But you finish and hold your certificate looking for a job. You finish, you'll be able to study. You say you are the last minute learner. You are a last minute learner. So as a last minute learner, you after you have gone to memorize everything and poured on paper, what will become of you when you are done with the school? You become useless to society. Society does not mean examination, does not need examination passes. No, society needs people who have imbibed expertise, who have imbibed relevant knowledge, and are coming there to solve problems. People who focus from the beginning and try to make something out of their education are people who become useful to society. They come up and they become problem solvers. But the people who call themselves last minute learners are problems. So, two categories of people: some finish and they become problems, others finish and they become problem solvers. That is the difference. And in the long run, problem solvers will now employ problems. Meanwhile, they sat in the same class, studied the same books, were exposed to the same lecturers, had equal opportunities, but they had different perspectives. Do you see the problem we have? These are the problems we have. These are the problems we have. Intelligence is not in your ability to pass exams. Sometimes you can even pass exams. You can do very well than someone else in your class. But the person can be very useful to society whilst you are not. We need to redefine education. If you don't get the right perspective, why do you go to school? Do you think you are going to school to come and then work for the government? To come and then be employed by the government? You think you are going to school just for the paper, the certificate, the diploma, the degree, the masters? Is that why you think you are going to school? You are going to school just to finish, hold your certificate, running helter-skelter, looking for somebody to employ you. Is that the purpose of education? If no, if your answer to this question is no, then why is it the norm today? Even our parents tell us, oh, go to school, become somebody so that you can get a good job and make good money. Is that the purpose of education? Most of these people have become problems to society. No, you need to understand that there is something within you as a human being that is crying out for release. It is crying out for release. And until that thing is released, that potential that is inside you is released, you cannot be fulfilled. I read something by a man called O'Leary who said that salary is the medicine they give to people to forget about their visions. It's true. Salary is what they give to people to forget their dreams. That is why some people, unless they are fired from their workplaces, they don't discover themselves. Have you realized that the moment you realize that you have been fired from your workplaces, you begin to look more inward? You begin to look inside. You focus on the inside rather than trying to seek for a job. Why is that? Why do you want to wait until you are fired to look on the inward? Right from the time you started school, if you have started looking inside, I don't think that you would even wait for somebody to fire you before you begin to unnet your potentials. Perspective. Think about it. Perspective. Why do you do what you do? Why do you go to school? Why? Perspective. Why do you become what you become? Perspective. There are people who can be in the same situation, the same problem confronting them. The same problem confronting three people. One person will come out victorious, the other one will come out defeated, the other one will come out confused. Why is that? Perspective. There are people who face challenges and they see it as a stepping stone. Others face challenges and it breaks them down. Why is that? Perspective. Perspective. Let me go to the fundamentalist Bible, okay, Christian fundamentalist Bible, for instance. It was said that Jesus Christ was crucified on the cross and he was there with two other people, right? So three people on the same cross, but they had different experiences. Do you know that? I always say that Jesus Christ died for sin on that cross. He died for sin. One of the men died out of sin. The third person died in sin. The man who said, "Remember me in paradise," died out of sin. Why? Because he saw Jesus differently. Perspective. So three people, they had different experiences. They went different places. Why is that? Perspective. How you see the world will determine the decisions that you take, the places you go, what matters to you, what you give your attention to, what you give your time to. Do you see that? I see people, they post all sort of things on social media, they post things on their status, then, they try to comfort themselves. They try to massage their ego, and they try to hide their ignorance in the fact that, this is my status. I am just being happy. This is not me. Who told you that it's not you? It is deception to think that you are involuntarily, okay? You are involuntarily doing something, or you are doing something off the cuff, extemporaneously, and think that is not you. You cannot do something extemporaneously and think it is not you. You see, on the contrary, it is not what you do consciously that defines you, but what you do unconsciously. So if you think that you are just posting that unconsciously just to make yourself happy, then that is who you actually are. It is about perspective, how you see the world. If you don't see things in their right relative importance, you can never make the most out of them. This is a universal law. Perspective. See things the way they must be. Put them where they must be, no matter what it would cost you. Some of the things, if you have to see things in their right perspective, they might demand your comfort and your convenience, but it is worth it. There is no great thing that does not constrain you and restrain you. So if you cannot put up with self-restraint, then I'm telling you, you cannot get to where you are dreaming about. This is perspective. I hope you were blessed. Join me next time as I take you deeper into some of this concept again. And I'm telling you, my next video, I am going to major on intelligence. What it is, how to calculate your intelligence level. I'm going to take you through all that. I'm going to tell you the types of intelligence, and I'll tell you the deception that we have today in regards to intelligence. I hope you are blessed. If you are blessed, please share this video, like it, subscribe if you've not done that already, and click on the notification button so that whenever I upload a video, you'll be there to have it first. God bless you. See you next time.